Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Home Ground, where the women's game feels personal and powerful, and we get to explore all of the things going on off the field and surrounding the things that are happening on the field. I'm so excited to be back for another week. I will admit I have a crazy busy work week. I'm recording this at 7:45 on Monday night, in hopes that I'll be able to get it edited and up on Wednesday. So if you're hearing this on Wednesday, yay. If it's delayed, sorry. I don't think it will be because that's just the kind of person that I am. But all of that to say, I have so much to say and so many things I want to talk about. When I was thinking about what I wanted this episode to be, I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to say. And then I started taking notes, and now I have like 5 pages of notes. So maybe we'll get through all of it, and maybe the end part will have to be postponed to next episode, which I think will be fine. But there's so much going on. It is such a busy time in the women's game. The WSL is wrapping up for the end of the season. World Sevens happened over the weekend, and I was so busy I didn't even get to watch it. So I'm not even going to talk about it in this episode, but there's so much amazing content on their social media and all of that. And I would highly suggest that everybody go pay attention to that. If you were hoping I was going to cover it, sorry. A girl only has so much time in the day. And so, yeah, that was really well covered on social media. Seems super cool. One day I really, really want to go. Also, Champions League, there's more games this week and next week to wrap up the end of the league phase to see who goes into the qualifying stage, I think is what it's called. I don't actually know. But yeah, there's just so much going on. So I have lots of notes about what I want to get through, and we'll just see how far I get. But I want to start with the WSL results from over the weekend because it was a kind of an exciting weekend in the WSL, I think, or tragic, depending on what team you support. So the first game was on Saturday. Arsenal beat Liverpool 2-1 at home. They played at the Emirates. Olivia Smith, who, if you remember, came to Arsenal from Liverpool, so she was playing her old team for the first time. She scored a goal in the 17th minute. It was gorgeous. You should go look at the highlights. My describing it isn't going to do it justice. It was really, really nice. And then in the 30th minute, Beata Olsen scored for Liverpool. She has been having a heck of a season for them, so that was very exciting for her. And for Liverpool, I'm sure if you're a Liverpool fan, as an Arsenal fan, that was not great, but what can you do? And then it was a really tight game. Honestly, Liverpool played quite well. I think it's so unfortunate that Liverpool is bottom of the table because they tied with Chelsea last week. They barely lost to Arsenal this week. Stina Blackstenia scored in the 88th minute. So that's how long it took for Arsenal to get that second goal. So I think it's such a bummer that they're having such a rough first half of the season. They only have 2 points, but they're giving teams a hard time and then just can't finish the game, I guess. Anyways, so that was the Saturday game. Arsenal ended up winning 2-1. So as an Arsenal fan, that was good. Arsenal's been on not that great of a stretch of late. So for them to pick up a WSL win, I think was really important for them if they want to be contenders for, I won't even say the league title. I think that is done and dusted, which we'll get into in a second. But if they want to be contenders for Champions League, so only top 3 get into Champions League qualifying. So there's that. Sunday games. Man City beat Leicester City 3-0 at Leicester. It was Man City the whole time. I think they went into halftime 0-0, but then City came out and scored 3 goals, and there's just not a lot to say about that. City's in really, really great form. Bunny Shaw's back scoring goals. Caroline Nicoli, who, if you are an NWSL fan, you might know her. She used to play for, I think, North Carolina Courage. She was NWSL MVP, I think, 2 seasons ago. She plays for Man City. She is back. She's been out with injury. This was her first game back, and she scored a goal. She actually had an assist to Bunny, and then Bunny had an assist to her. So that was really cute and happy. So that's good. That's kind of all I have to say about that game. London City lost 1-0 to Brighton. There was a goal in the 6th minute, and then the London City goalie saved a penalty in the 19th minute, so that was exciting. I unfortunately didn't watch that game because it was on at 7 a.m. and I decided to sleep instead. So there's that. Tottenham beat Aston Villa 2-1. Villa did get a red card in the 65th minute after Delandis, I don't actually know how she pronounces her last name, got a second yellow. It was 0-0 at that time, and then Kirsty Hansen scored for Villa in the 84th minute, which is exciting because they were down a player, scored in the 84th. That was a late goal. That was exciting. But then Beth England turns around immediately, scores a goal for Tottenham in the 85th minute. So literally the next minute. Is it going to end in a tie? Well, in the 90th plus five, 90 plus fifth minute, I don't know. Fifth minute of stoppage time, Olivia Holt scored for Tottenham, taking home all 3 points for Tottenham. So they're on 19 points, tied with Arsenal in fourth. But goal differential, Arsenal's like plus 11 and Tottenham is at 0. So yeah, technically they are tied at fourth, but there's kind of a big disparity in the goal differential there. Maybe I'm just saying that to try to make myself feel better. I don't know. Man United beat West Ham 2-1. I also didn't watch this game. All of these games were on at 7 a.m. And for me, I got up at 7 a.m. the day before. It was just too much. I'm also trying to prioritize like taking care of myself, which is a crazy thing to do. So I did not get up for any of these 7 a.m. games. And quite frankly, I almost didn't get up for the Chelsea game, but I did. So Man United beat West Ham 2-1. There was a crazy bicycle goal from Martinez of West Ham. If you haven't seen that, go look at the highlights. It was insane, like in off the post, wild. Very exciting. I think everybody should go look at that. The other really exciting thing that came out of this game is that Fallon Tullis-Joyce is back. She had like fractured her eye socket, so unsurprisingly, she's wearing like a face mask and she kind of looks like Batman. And so she posted on her Instagram. She said, she was like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be back with the girls and so proud to represent the 18 species of bats that are in the UK." Like, just so Fallon Tullis-Joyce coded. And I'm so happy about it. She is a perfect little angel baby. And I just love everything about what she's doing. And just kind of, I think it's who she is as a person. I don't think she's like doing anything. She just like is this person who's a marine biologist and just loves animals and all the things. So I thought that was really cute and funny. And then final game of the weekend, which I did watch most of, I turned it on in like the 25th minute or something. Chelsea lost to Everton 1-0. I've been saying since the WSL season started that I needed somebody to beat Chelsea because I could not have them go on another unbeaten season. And not only did Everton beat them, but they also kept them from scoring. The club kept a clean sheet, which nobody has kept a clean sheet in the WSL against Chelsea for 66 games. So they have a streak of 66 games of scoring a goal, and then they didn't score on the 67th game. We'll get to that in just a second. Hanaka Hayashi scored the goal in the 12th minute. So it was a pretty early goal. Chelsea, I think, just kind of like fell asleep in defense. And then Everton played like a perfect defensive game. It was so chaotic and it was like so scary to watch. Even as a neutral, you just felt like Chelsea were going to score. Chelsea had 79% possession. 79%. That means that Everton only had 21% possession. Like, that is insane. Chelsea had 30 total shots, only 6 of which were on target. And I think you felt that as you were watching the game. Like, it was just one of those games where you just knew that it wasn't Chelsea's day. And you can hear players talk about this sometimes, so they'll just oftentimes it's sort of the winning team says that. I think Leah Williamson said it about the Champions League final. Sam Mewis has talked about it so much about the 2019 World Cup where like the ball's just bouncing their way. Like they have all of the luck. Chelsea hit the crossbar, I think 3 times, and then the post twice. And then there were like 2 other goal line clearances. Like it was actually insane. Huge shout out to Ruby Mace. She was everywhere, all over the field, always in the way of the Chelsea players. I was so impressed by her. I think if Serena's not paying attention, I get that it was just like one game. She's been called into England camps before. She's been with in like the youth age groups. I was so impressed with her. And then Courtney Brosnan, the American born, but I think she plays for Ireland goalie. She clearly is Everton's goalie, was really just so incredible, as was Martina Fernandez, the other center back who was playing with Ruby Mace. They were just so good. Martina Fernandez had a clearance like off the line that was like gonna go in, and then Courtney Brosnan like reached and got it. Like half of the ball was over the line, but you know, the whole ball has to go over the line. And so it didn't cross the line. Chelsea didn't score. Martina Fernandez also had header. It like hit, she like headed out of the goal and it like hit the post and went out. It was crazy. Like it was just one of those things where it was going Everton's way. Chelsea just wasn't on it. Like it just wasn't their day. Sam Kerr had an open shot, like where vintage Sam Kerr, I think even right now, Sam Kerr, everyone would have expected her to just like bury it top corner. And she just like sliced it and like missed the goal by like 10 feet from like the 6-yard box. Like it was crazy. Okay, she maybe wasn't in the 6-yard box, but she was like in the 18-yard box. So it wasn't going to go Chelsea's way. You could just feel it. And so I think it's really good for the league. I think it's good for the sport to have Chelsea not be undefeated again. And you could feel it in the air. Like they tied Arsenal, they tied Liverpool. Like they aren't winning convincingly. They beat Leicester. Like I think it was Leicester. They beat 1-0. Like they weren't having these like blowout matches where they're just like winning handedly like they have in previous seasons. And so you could just feel that it was coming. Interestingly, Lucy Bronze and Keira Walsh were both interviewed after the game, and I really respected a lot about what they said. And they were both saying, like, yeah, we're disappointed that we lost. That is true. But they both said, they're like, I don't feel like we played that badly today. It's not like we had a terrible performance. Yeah, there were some areas where we could have been better and we needed to be more clinical and like these kinds of things. Absolutely. But also, they were really respectful of Everton. They're like, they played a great game. They defended super well. Courtney Brosnan was on fire. And I just really respected that. Then Lucy also said, like, I can understand that, like, for the bigger picture of the game, it's probably good that we lost to a team like Everton to make the WSL more competitive. Like, all of these things, it's just proving all of those things that they've been saying. And so I just really respected the way that they talked about it because they could have been, I don't know, less graceful about it, I think, when you're on a team that like doesn't lose. Yeah, this ends the unbeaten run that Chelsea had been on. I think it was like 30, I want to say it was 34 games. This would have been their 35th, but maybe it was 32 games. This would have been 33. I don't know. Whatever it was a big number, but now we don't have to see that silly graphic anymore from the WSL every week, which is really great. And I'm happy about that. And again, like as much as I don't want to like hate on Chelsea because they are a fantastic team. And they're struggling right now. Like they are not in form as a team. I don't know what's happening, but it's weird because then they like tied Barcelona. So like I don't know what to say. That's football, I guess. Like anybody on any given day. So I don't know. It was exciting for Everton. And yes, the girls celebrated big, but I didn't feel like they were like over the top about it or like disrespectful or anything. And so I really just thought all in all it was like super great. So, speaking of the WSL table, so Man City won, Chelsea lost. Man City is now 6 points clear of Chelsea at the top of the table. Chelsea is in second, and then Man City is behind. Chelsea has 21 points, Man City has 20, Arsenal and Tottenham both have 19. So, 2 through 5 are like tight, and then Man City's like clear in a way. So, again, they don't have Champions League football, so right now their schedule is much less busy than Chelsea and Arsenal and Man United. So they don't have these midweek fixtures, at least not to the same like caliber of fixtures that the other teams are having. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we go further on in the season. Chelsea and Man United, I saw today, have for sure clinched at least like a playoff into the quarterfinals for the Champions League. Arsenal has yet to do that, but Arsenal did have like a sort of harder front-loaded schedule than some of the other teams within the tournament. So we'll see what happens. But there is one WSL game left before the winter break. So we'll see what happens there. There's also the Subway Cup quarterfinal is the last game before the winter break, the weekend of like the 20th and 21st. So that's about the actual like soccer of the WSL. One thing that I do want to talk about, and this has been a little bit, so maybe I should have talked about this last week, is the Athletic article that came out about Arsenal. There was an article put out criticizing the culture of Arsenal. I'm just going to read some of the quotes from it because I think that's just an easier way. I just like pulled some of these things. One of the quotes said, but according to people close to the club, the season's disjointed performances have shown a light on wider cultural and structural issues within the women's setup at Arsenal. There are also concerns that the Champions League triumph has allowed underlying problems to go unaddressed. They went on to say, numerous people close to the team say that the dressing room has been splintered for many years, leading to a lack of unity and some tension among players. A small group is said to wield significant influence in dressing room dynamics and decisions. Further, sources say the growing cultural sway of players has not been addressed properly for many years. In the vacuum, the dressing room has become a difficult place for some players to feel comfortable. They went on. Additionally, sources inside and outside the club say the pathway for high potential young and incoming players within Arsenal's academy and those recruited straight into the first team could and should be better. That that criticism was talking, this last one was talking about the way that they sit in the locker room, which I just think is an interesting criticism to have. So Arsenal does not sit according to like jersey number. They sit in, at least their home dressing room is like a horseshoe. And they sit in order of length of time at the club. So people like Leah Williamson, Lotta Women-Moy, Kim Little, even at this point, like Beth Mead, Steph Catley, who have been there for so long, Katie McCabe, are all kind of like on one side, and then it trickles down into the newer players. So like Chloe Kelly, Olivia Smith, Taylor Hines would all be like sitting near each other because they all came in technically in this like summer window. So they'll all be sitting near each other. So that's how they set up their dressing room. And this article seemed to be pointing that out as one of the things that's causing this like conflict. I am honestly quite skeptical about this article. My interpretation of Arsenal has always been that they are a very, very close-knit team that spends a lot of time together, both within like a structured team environment and outside of which. I do think maybe that has felt less so this past year. I will acknowledge, obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I don't want any of these things to be true, just so there's a bias there. So yeah, that is true. But I also just feel like when it's like sources close to the club, like it could be somebody who's not getting a good amount of minutes being disgruntled and like telling their like family or friends about it and then them like running. And it's like, yeah, maybe there are some like weird tensions that are happening, but I don't know that. I guess the argument that I want to make is that like Arsenal is not having a good season. Any sort of like minor issue that is going on is going to seem super exacerbated and seem like the end of the world when things aren't going well, right? Like when you're already pissed off, the smallest little thing is going to piss you off more. And I just feel like that's what's happening here. I also feel like because Arsenal's not having a good season, it puts them in a position in which they are vulnerable to these kinds of attacks because we see players on the pitch frustrated. We see that like things aren't going well, and then we can spin this whole story in our head of being like, oh, yeah, Katie McCabe is pissed because of this and that and this and that. And she's mad about that. And this person's not inclusive and that person is gotten too big. And well, Leah Williamson's really famous. So that must be who this is talking about because of her cultural influence. And it's like, we don't have actually any evidence of this. They didn't name who their sources were because they wanted to like protect the sources, as often happens in journalism. I'm not trying to say that like we always need to be outing sources because there is some sort of like journalistic integrity. Though I have less faith in journalistic integrity the older I get because of the way that the world is changing. I digress. We don't need to get into all of that at this moment. That's not what's relevant. But I just feel like it's easy to give this kind of criticism when things aren't going well because people are frustrated and you see like these little moments of frustrations during after games and it's like easy to spin that into this whole like, see, it's a toxic environment, and it's like, or it's a sports team that's not playing well and so tensions are high. And I don't feel like that is a uniquely Arsenal problem because I'm sure Chelsea is having their own tensions that are happening right now because they're not playing well. Like each of these teams, I'm sure Liverpool is not having a good time in their dressing room right now because they're not doing well. Like that's just part of what happens when things aren't going well for you as a team. And I don't think that these are uniquely Arsenal problems, but this article was trying to spin it in such a way to say that like Arsenal is a toxic place and has these big sort of like Arsenal cultural problems that have to be addressed before they can be good again. And I don't know that that's fair. I'm obviously not in the dressing room, but people within Arsenal have commented on this. So Ian Wright has commented on this, and he's been quite critical of Arsenal this season, especially with their handling of Jenna Neiswanger. I think he was even speaking about Kyra Cooney-Cross earlier. Kyra's now getting more minutes. But he said that Arsenal, A, needs to get used to this kind of criticism just because of their sort of like size, stature, influence in the women's game. They are a target for when they get in these vulnerable positions. People are going to come at them. That's just the nature of where they're at. But he did go on to say that like if any of this is true at all, 50% of it, 25% of it, it's really damning for the club. And he suggests that the leaders should welcome this kind of article reflect on the potential of any of these things happening or being perceived by anyone within the club, implement strategies that address any of those issues, and see how they can move forward. Because you could be safe and assume that it's true and try to address them, even if it's not true. Because if you're just trying to make the culture better and it's more inclusive and it's more welcoming and it's more all of these things, that's going to be good. Even if you're going from bad to good or if you're going from good to great, those are both excellent. So I think that's the point that he was like trying to make about it, which I tend to really appreciate Righty because I feel like he is really honest. Like, yeah, he is Arsenal and he'll be honest about that, but he's also not afraid to criticize them when it's warranted. So I thought that that was a really interesting take. After the game this weekend, Olivia Smith was asked about it in sort of like the mix zone, and she said that she's like, you can look at us on the pitch. We're very cohesive and super together. You shouldn't believe everything that you read because this team is like so together and we're like a family. And she like even used that word. So I found that really interesting. It was literally like a 45-second long clip. They're not super engaging with the narrative, which I think is smart. I think the more you engage with it, the more like defensive it looks. But when you're asked like a direct question, what are you going to do? Like not answer. She was asked directly. And then Lotta Wubben Moy did the pregame or the like match day -1 press conference for the game against Twente. That is on Tuesday, the 9th. It will have been yesterday when this podcast comes out. But she was asked about it in the press conference. And she was saying, like, I read the article, I took it on board. And honestly, we would like to like invite you guys into the training ground to see what it's like on the inside. She said, and I quote, "What we're doing is special. We believe in ourselves and are empowered by Renee to create a culture that everyone contributes to." I don't know. Again, I'm biased. I'm an Arsenal fan. I want to believe the things that they're saying. And I'm not, but I'm also not such an Arsenal fan to say that, like, of course, there would never be any issues in the changing room. I would just argue that I don't think the issues that probably exist in Arsenal's dressing room are different than those that exist in other changing rooms. And there would seem to be this like emphasis on the like horseshoe shaped seating arrangements. But like my argument to that is if you're by number, but everybody, right? Like when you're at a club, you wear the same number the whole time. Like Leah Williamson has been wearing number 6. Lotta has been wearing number 3. Kim's been wearing number 10. Like they've been wearing these numbers for so long, they're going to be sitting in the same spot. And so like Steph Catley has been there now multiple years as well. So Steph and Leah will be sitting next to each other, 6 and 7, for a prolonged period of time. Yeah, Leo Cadena, who wears 5, has now come in there. But before that, Jen Beattie wore 5. So Jen Beattie and Leah Williamson had been there forever and they're sitting next to each other. Like, if you're doing it by number, you're also sitting next to the same people. And so I guess what they're saying is it's like clumping up and it feels like a hierarchy in which you're being assigned. The way that I interpret it is like if you're in a horseshoe, then the newest people are directly across the horseshoe from the people who have been there the longest. It's like the people who have been there the middleest who are furthest away at the top of the horseshoe or the bottom of the horseshoe, however you look at it, from the people who have been there the longest. I don't know. Again, I recognize the bias, but that's all I have to say about that. Interesting article, I guess, but I just feel like Arsenal's in a spot that they're vulnerable to these kinds of things. And so there we go. I do want to talk about another article that was written. BBC did research, had conversations with different managers, and then wrote an article about the online abuse in football. And Sonia Bonpastor was part of this, as were a couple other managers from the men's league, the Premier League. Hello, I do know what it is. I don't watch it, but I do know. But this actually shocked me. Like I knew there was a lot of online abuse. Please, I know that that is true. But the just sheer magnitude of it was insane. The investigation found that more than 2,000 extremely abusive social media posts, including death and rape threats, were sent about managers and players in the Premier League and the Women's Super League in one weekend. 2,000 extremely abusive social media posts. That is actually insane. Like, I want to ask if people are okay, but obviously they're not because what are you doing? And I just get so frustrated because I can never imagine sending threats to anybody ever, whether I know them or don't know them. But to just like get online and feel like you can say whatever you want because you're like behind your phone, it just doesn't make any sense. These people are humans. And the fact that we have forgotten that these people are humans and see these things and read these things and their like nervous system has to deal with these things. It's disgusting. In this research, they also found messages that included racial slurs, homophobia, threats of violence. Sonia Bonpastor is gay. Many of the players on Chelsea's team are women of color. And so there was lots of like racist and homophobic abuse. There are a lot of also queer women on Chelsea's team. And so there was like a ton of that. This research showed that Chelsea and their manager faced 50% of all of the abuse in the WSL, which is crazy to me. And look, like I will somewhat jokingly say, like I'm Chelsea's number one hater. But I would never even think about posting something like nasty online. I just don't like fundamentally don't understand why anybody would think that that's an okay thing to do. Like I'm Chelsea's number one hater in that like I just don't want them to win, but I want their players to be healthy and I like so many of the players on their team and really I kind of want them to do well, just like not as well as Arsenal. That's really it. Like I want them to do better than Tottenham. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want them to win and I was happy to see Everton beat them, but I would never like wish ill on any of their players or their manager or anything like that. And I just don't like I actually can't comprehend it and the stuff that came out of this shocked me like to my core. Like I knew that it existed. I believe all of these people who say that they have experienced it. I've seen it on some of my like friends' comments who have like TikToks that blow up or something like that. Like I've seen crazy stuff. But I just, like, did not understand the magnitude. And in this sort of research and an article, Sonia Bonpastor said, "People think they can say anything they want from behind a screen." And then she went on to say, "It's scary. I wanna raise my voice against that." And I really respect that she was really wanted to speak up about this, and it's something that she's clearly very, very passionate about as it's affecting not only herself, as she has a wife, I think they're married, which she just, like, hard launched in her book. That was crazy. We love it, but that was crazy. But she went on to talk about how the platforms themselves aren't doing enough and that she hopes that while we continue to push these social media platforms to be more responsible and to hold people accountable on those platforms, that clubs will step up and step in and protect their players, especially in the women's game. She talked about how there is much less security just in the women's game. Yes, these people are becoming like household names. These women are becoming household names and like stars in their own right, but they don't have the kind of security that exists in the men's games. They're playing in smaller stadiums, they're way more accessible. And so it's just really, really important that these clubs step up and step in to protect their players and their managers, I would argue. She didn't say that, but I'm gonna add that part because she doesn't deserve to receive this kind of abuse either. And these women, I joke with my friends, I'm like, "Gosh, they're just girls." Like, okay, they're also incredible, incredible athletes, but also they're probably people who wanna just, like, come home and get on their phone and, like, scroll and watch, like, funny TikTok videos, and they don't wanna, like, scroll and come across a video of somebody, like, that has comments of, like, threats and hate messages, and they don't wanna open their DMs and be, like, threatened and scared to go outside and not know who, and if somebody approaches them on the street, could be me wanting to say, like, "Hi, I really love what you do, and I'm just, like, such a big fan," or it could be somebody who's, like, threatening them and, like, actually a big problem, and so I'm happy that we're at least doing the research, and now that we see the things and we know the things, like, we need to change the things. So, that was something really important that I hadn't yet talked about. This came out a couple of weeks ago at this point, but I hadn't touched on it, and so I really, really wanted to. But we will move on to sort of the last thing I wanna talk about today. This also happened a couple weeks ago at this point, but there's been so much going on, I cannot pack it all in. And last episode, I talked for so long, and I'm talking for so long this episode too, but we need to talk about the Leah Williamson and Elle Smith of it all. I don't even know how to, like, say what happened, but Leah Williamson, captain of England and co-captain of Arsenal, has very, like, openly and publicly confirmed that she's dating Elle Smith. And yes, we basically already knew this and have for several months. Yeah. So whether it was like the soft launches of each other that they post on their stories and in their dumps that confirmed it for you, or Leah commenting, "I have no words" on one of Elle's posts, to which Elle responded, "All yours." or Elle following the Lionesses around Switzerland this summer in her Williamson jersey, or her Live Laugh Leah shirt at the final, or potentially even them going to the Ballon d'Or ceremony together. That really, if that's the one that sealed it for you, which I loved. We talked about this a little bit when Hannah was on, that Leah and Elle did go to the Ballon d'Or ceremony together. They've posted very like coupley type photos. And I think a lot of us have assumed that they are together. And I think that was a very, very safe assumption to be making. But they have really, really done the like private but not secret thing until now. So Leah, over the international window, was in New York City, and Elle recently, while they were there, posted like a little vlog on TikTok of them for a day, like exploring New York City and then going and watching Wicked. And they kissed on camera on the mouth. Leah just kissed Elle on the mouth. And I don't know how to describe to someone who doesn't get it how impactful and important this is. Because it's just one of those things where like you either get it or you don't. And if you've been represented by famous people and you've seen yourself in media and you've seen the types of relationships that you have in media your whole life, then like there's nothing to get here because you're like, okay, cool, they kiss. And it's like, you don't understand. The captain of England is now like openly confirming that she is kissing girls on the mouth. And while we have known this, to my knowledge, she has never posted anything like this with any of her previous girlfriends. And so, I'm so happy, like, for her that she is happy and secure in her relationship and feels like confident and safe enough in that relationship and in who she is to be this open about it. Like, I think that's so exciting for her, sort of on a personal level. But I also just feel like it's gonna change the world. And that feels so dramatic to say, but so many, not just young girls, me, like so many people look up to Leah Williamson and will feel like a little bit safer and a little bit more confident to be their full self in whatever way that is. And for a lot of queer women, I think it impacts us differently than a lot of the world. But to just see someone of her like status just kiss her girlfriend on the mouth like it was the most normal thing in the world. And the clip is really cute. Elle posted on her TikTok, but the clip, it's like just in the middle of a video. Like they posted it like it was so normal. But they're like walking through New York and Leah's turns on the camera and is filming, and Elle's like, "Oh, like how do you like New York?" And Leah's like, "Oh yeah, it's great. I love it." And then kind of like looks at Elle, and Elle's like, "I'm gonna need a little more enthusiasm." And then Leah just like kisses her. And Elle just like haha happily giggles, and she's like, "I can't use that." And it was my favorite part about it is Elle didn't seem like annoyed. She wasn't like, "Oh, God, now I can't use that." She just seemed to be like, "What are you doing? Like, now I can't use that." Like, very, very respectful of boundaries. Like, we don't post pictures or videos of us kissing on the internet. Like, that's just not something that we do. She was like, "I can't use that," and was like giggling. And then Leah goes, "Yeah, you can. It's lovely kisses." When I saw that video for the first time, my jaw like jumped to the floor. Like, my jaw has never dropped so fast. And I was actually in the car with Laura and Allison. We were going home from the NWSL championship. That's how long ago this video was posted. When I saw it, and I said, and we all were just like shocked that they posted it. Like, it was just unreal. And so I don't know, it's just one of those things that's so hard to describe to somebody who doesn't get it. And so you either get it or you don't. And if you do get it, then you understand how like beautifully simple it is to just be the captain of England, the co-captain of Arsenal. England's going through its own issues with homophobia and racism and its own, the United States is having its own issues too with all of these things as well, obviously. Unless you're sleeping under a rock, you're seeing it. And so to just have someone just so innocently, like it wasn't a big deal at all, just kiss her girlfriend walking down the street is just the coolest thing. And to just act like it was the most natural and normal thing, because for them it is. I don't know how long they've been together. I'm not going to pretend to speculate or know anything about that, but I just really love it for them and for me and for all the people who get to see it and get to experience somebody who they look up to, and so many young girls and probably young boys and not that young girls and old girls look up to Leah Williamson in such a way that I just think it's so cool that she, again, I keep saying it, as captain of England and co-captain of Arsenal, just was walking down the street and kissed her girlfriend who is a woman of color from the United States. Like, I also, Elle Smith, if you aren't aware, is a former Miss USA. She was representing Kentucky and she won Miss USA in, I want to say, like 2019, but I'm not actually sure. It's been several years, but I don't know. The representation is crazy on so many levels. And it's just, if you get it, you get it. And it's gorgeous and amazing. It's gorgeous and amazing no matter what. Whether you get how gorgeous and wonderful it is a whole different conversation. But yeah, I've been smiling about it ever since. I just think it's so cool. And just to have that kind of representation from, yeah, someone like Leah and Elle is just, it's amazing. And I love it so much. So I'm going to call it there on this podcast. I did not get through everything that I wanted to get to. So next time we will talk about, I'm going to say this as if I'm going to have time to do it next time. So maybe I won't even tell you. And it's just going to be a surprise cliffhanger. So hopefully I'll have time to get through it next time, but who knows? Thank you so much for listening. If you've gotten this far, I love having this platform to just talk about the things that I'm watching, excited about, passionate about, concerned about. That goes for both of the articles that we talked about today that I had read. So I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting time in women's soccer. It's such an interesting time in the world. And to be living in this like beautiful, wonderful place of women's soccer, and feel like it's such like it feels like a safe space to me. And then to realize that it's actually not, that's a really privileged thing to say as a white woman who is not in the public. I feel like I've created this really, really fun and safe atmosphere around me with so many people in the women's game, but it's not that way for everyone. And so we need to keep pushing and keep working towards that. So this has been really eye-opening for me. But yeah, I love being here. I love that some of you guys listen and let me ramble on. So again, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything that you wish I would talk about, let me know. If any of you, my loyal listeners, want to come on with me and chat, I would love it. It's been a lot of Brigitte lately. So yeah. Anyways, also, if you wouldn't mind liking, commenting, subscribing, following us on social media at our home ground pod on Instagram and at our.home.p on TikTok. I've been trying to share stuff in my Instagram stories that I think I'm going to talk about on the podcast. So that's been fun because I think that has kind of worked out well. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys next time.